As pollsters and pundits trying to predict the winner of the U.S. presidential election, researchers at New York University have been looking at something else: online searches for campaign-related merchandise. Well, they found that since Vice President Kamala Harris entered the presidential race in July, she has led Trump in yard sign-related searches by 76%. They also studied searches for candidate-related attire, and those findings offered a much different result. All right, joining me now is Anasse Bari, senior researcher for the study, and he is also professor of computer science at New York University. Thanks so much for being on with us about this very unusual idea. Why did you decide on those specific indicators for political support?
Thank you, Kim, for having me. So, if someone is searching online for their candidate's yard signs, shirt, hat, flag, or any other merchandise of the candidate they support, there is a good chance that they are supportive of that candidate, and there's a strong likelihood that they will vote for them. And similarly, if searching for terms that arise during and immediately after a presidential debate, it looks like someone would be interested enough to be watching the debates. For instance, we saw that people will not be searching for Springfield or Haiti if they weren't watching the debate. So with large number of netizens expressing support through microblogs, social media posts, memes, and videos, it became an important data point for us to measure and come up with a new innovative way to measure public opinion about presidential candidates. So we created this innovative data-driven way to look at candidate support in ways that go beyond typical measurements such as polls or campaign contributions.
Yeah, you say it's a data-driven way. How exactly did you go about it?
So basically, we've been doing tracking a lot of searches. So we've been coming up with a lot of key phrases and keywords that people would use to basically search for merchandise around yard signs, around hats, around shirts. And we came up with indices that would track basically those searches. And then we were trying to compare one candidate versus another. Another approach that we did was also to measure sentiment using sentiment analysis algorithms, which is a branch of AI where we can see the tone of people on how they express themselves towards one candidate or another. And we just thought that this is going to be a new way of looking at things that could supplement what have been done within the traditional way of trying to get signals ahead of the elections.
Yeah, I want to get to the implications of this in a second, but first the results. So in terms of the merchandise, hats and shirts, what did you find there?
So for the hats and the shirts, we found different things for both candidates. It looks like the Trump hat is very popular in a lot of swing states. Whereas for the yard signs, as you mentioned at the beginning, Vice President Harris has been leading. We also saw a lot of differences when it comes to the hats when we talk about the Vice President and President hat. So I think for the Harris and Walz hats were basically outpaced the Trump Vance hats in a lot of the swing states.
Interesting. Now, of course, if you were a political consultant and you were to rely on these findings to inform your campaign, you'd probably be fired. But what can you read into these results at this point, do you think?
Yes, it's very hard to make predictions. The algorithmic process that we typically use for other domains to make predictions is very hard, especially when the future insists on being so unpredictable. I think that the candidate who will win this election and become president of the United States will be the one who secures the majority of votes, as has been the case throughout the history of the US presidential elections. But the research work that we did, although it doesn't claim the predictive of voting choice, it supplements polling in offering a bigger picture of political sentiments. And this is something that we shouldn't be ignoring as we go into the elections on how people are expressing themselves into searches or into microblogs like Reddit and others. Also, we found that our method can also measure enthusiasm about a specific candidate.
Hmm.
At some point, we saw that Trump yards were outpacing President Biden's yard searches. But then when Vice President Kamala Harris joined the race, it was a seismic shift into what we saw as probably it reflects how people are enthusiastic about her joining the race.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, sociological and political experiment. But in the future, using AI, we may be able to kind of supplement the usual types of polling, which is we just listened to our report there, which has proven quite fallible in the past, supplementing those with more sophisticated types of searches like this. I mean, what's the potential here in the future?
I see a lot of potential. I think this is one of the most important data points that we could use to connect with other data points with regards to the candidates. We can measure sentiment, we can measure enthusiasm, we can also measure how people feel about specific topics that are around basically the elections. For instance, in the first debate, we found that abortion and immigration were the top topics that people were searching for during the debate. They were searching for abortion laws by states. And that continues also after the debates. And we saw a shift where before the debates, crime was the most searched and the most discussed topics in microblogs. And then after the first presidential debate, abortion became the second, the most searched topic. So I see a lot of potential here as a supplement to the polls. I think the big data from social media, which could be the engine to a lot of AI that we could do around this space. And hopefully we can get some signals that could be predictive at some point.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I guess we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. Anasse Bari, thank you so much for being here with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.